Hi, welcome to Dewdrops. My name is Beth. We have got a really cool video. When we're done here showing you how to make these, you'll be able to make all of those. First thing we're going to start with is this little mold, and what we're doing is we're making our insert. It's just out of clear resin. That's all we're putting in there is clear resin. And I'm just using the Dewdrops Resin, UV resin, the low viscosity. Because of the low viscosity, it makes it very easy to get rid of any bubbles. And then we're just going to cure it. It cures very quick because it's just clear resin. And we're going to need to make 2 of them. And yes, you saw my little note up there. It is vitally important that you cure in between each and every layer. If you don't, it will just become a blob of resin. I've learned that through experience. So what I'm doing is connecting the hearts. And then once those are connected, we're going to add some resin on the bottom and then reconnect them to the mold properly. By doing this, it will be like a dam for the resin not to get into the middle. And now that we put the resin on the bottom, we need to cure them in place. Then once we do that, you will take your Dewdrops Resin, low viscosity resin, and you will warm it up. It needs to be heated up with a heat gun. Not only will it make sure all bubbles are gone, it thins it out enough to where we don't have to worry about it getting into all the crevices. Because you'll see how I pull back on the mold there. I want to make sure I get the sides of the heart with resin. It's really important. And then we'll cure it for about a minute and a half. Then we're flipping it over. Yes, we are flipping it over. We are taking the back side. We're going to add some resin to it. Make sure there's no holes or bubbles. Cure it. And then we are going to add the gilding paste, but first we need to cut our bezels up. I just take the largest size and the medium size, and I cut those up to the size that I need. I did only end up needing one large one and one, I think that is like a 20 millimeter round bezel that I'm going to be putting in there. There it is. And I'm just going to secure all that in with resin. And now we're just going to top it all off with some resin and make sure everything is smooth and where it's supposed to be. Even the back looks fun on these pieces. So I just use my little flashlight to cure this really, for about a minute or so, because it's just all clear resin right now. And now we're going to put our gilding adhesive on, and we have to let that dry until real sticky. And then this little trick I figured out. You know how with the flakes you get all this static? If you put it on a wet baby wipe, the static won't be so bad. It really helps. So here we go. We're going to be using the Dewdrops Resin Chameleon flakes. We are using brown yellow, pink olive, violet blue, and purple pink. I know I've said this probably every time, but I think it's important to say that when you are putting down your chameleon flakes, you need to be very careful you put no pressure on them. especially on designs like this, because there's not a lot of place to be able to put your color. So you have to be very selective and very careful that you are able to mix your colors properly, as you will do when you tamp everything down. So just with a gentle hand, you just put a little bit of each color. You're not using very much. You will see, you can barely see it on the tip of that, how little I'm using. Then once we do that, we tamp it down and we burnish it in. And then we clean it up, and then we add some more resin to cover the chameleon flakes and cure it. Now what I'm doing here is something I showed in my last video. I made all these little discs with all the different colors for the chrome powders by Dewdrops Resin. And what I do is, to figure out what color I want on there, I put that on top of it, and it shows me how it's going to look. So you're not guessing what it's going to look like. So I know this is exactly what this piece is going to look like when I put that purple on the back. I will know that this is what's going to come through, because each color that you put on there, whether it's black, white, purple, or pink, is going to show through. So we put a little bit of resin on there, and I only cured it for about 10 to 15 seconds at the most, so that the chrome powders will stick. And I like to make mine pretty opaque. And no matter how opaque you try to do it, they still have a little bit of translucity with it. And then we cover it with resin and cure it. After we're done curing it, we are going to flip it back over to the right side up and add more resin. But this time what we are doing is we are heating the high viscosity resin, not the low, the high viscosity by Dewdrops Resin. And while it's thin, it's going to get into all those nooks and crannies around those pointed spots. And it also will not be too thick in the high spots. But the beauty is, as it cools down, it re-thickens to its original state, and you're able to use it for doming, and that's what that stuff is amazing for. Now we're just kind of deburring it. There's a lot of area on the back that needs to be sanded down, because I didn't want this to be too thick, because you dome it a lot on the front. And so if you dome it a lot on the front and have a lot of resin on the back, it's going to be a very bulky piece, which is fine for a keychain. So now I'm just adding some Dewdrops Resin. It's the high viscosity. And this stuff stays where you put it. It is just, it's like the consistency of honey. You know how when you squirt some honey, it just kind of will stay and then maybe go into a round phase and stay there? Well, that's kind of the consistency of these. So this stuff is wonderful to work with. And I'm very surprised at how few bubbles there are. Now, one thing I have discovered with this high viscosity is you don't want to use a paintbrush with it unless you are just doing a mask covering and planning on using a heat gun to get rid of all the bubbles, because of it's so thick. So I'm just going to keep building it up and building it up to the thickness and the type of doming that I want. And each layer that you build up is going to become more fisheye. So you have to be careful of that. I like it sometimes, Other times I don't. Now we're going to make our bail. And all we're doing here is taking 3mm flat wire and rolling it upon itself with the bail maker. And I use the second to the smallest post on it. And then I just put it on there. I figure out the length I need for the shank, and then I cut it down. And the way that I cut this made it so perfect. It fit so beautifully. And now we're just going to add some resin on the back and cure that in. And wait till you see what the front looks like. It's so beautiful. Now that the back's all cured, we're going to take, like I said, what I'm doing here with the high viscosity. Now it's still a little warm, so it's not as thick, but I'm using a brush, and so I had to use a lighter on this to get rid of any excess bubbles. But it was so worth it. Look at that piece. It is absolutely gorgeous. And you will get the same results too if you follow what I do. I hope you like this. Please like and subscribe. I will see you soon.